YouTube user Mr. Brett G has told me that Ween is rather mid in his opinion. Now, I understand that taste is totally subjective. However, I think that's a grievous insult to my character and to art as a whole. Now, Mr. Brett has told me that I should, instead of listening to Ween, I should be listening to the album Common is Light by Sun Kil Moon or Wise by Joanna Newsom. And let me tell ya, I have some thoughts on the matter, but let's start with the positive first. So, regarding Joanna Newsom, I've actually already listened to the album Wise several times. I'm already rather familiar with it. Now, initially upon my first listen, I honestly didn't care for it that much. This was several years ago, and I suppose at the time you could say that I was more into vocalists like Grace Slick or Joni Mitchell, you know. I guess you could say that I hadn't really gotten into more experimental things at the time, but since then I have grown a deep appreciation for the works of Kate Bush, of Björk, of Nina Hagen. And so now, whenever, or recently, not just now, but whenever I listen to the album Wise again, I was really able to appreciate what Joanna Newsom was doing with her voice. Her singing that I initially found to be very weird, I found it to be quite beautiful. Honestly, the whole experience can give one insight to what it must feel like to be Galadriel. It's a very Galadriel album, and honestly, nowadays, I like it. Very whimsical, very beautiful, very almost opulent. Well, I don't know that I would call it opulent. I suppose whenever I think of the connotation of opulent, it would be more of an unnatural sort of beauty, whereas the beauty to be found in her album is more naturalistic. I was also surprised to find that it was worked on by Steve Albini, because I typically associate him with, you know, more rock noise type projects. Anyway, it's not even all of that said, it's not my favorite album to prominently feature the letter Y in the title. My favorite album to prominently feature the letter Y in the title would be the album Y by the pop group. Now, on to Sun Kil Moon, Common is Light. Honestly, Mr. Brett, I thought that this suggestion was an absolute joke. Whenever I put it on, I started listening to it and I was like, oh, I really don't like this, but you know, I'm going to keep on going because you're not necessarily always going to like the first track. And so as I went onwards and onwards with that album, there was nothing about it that I liked. Well, actually, there was one song that I liked. I think it was Early June Blues. I found that one to be alright, but, okay. So, whenever I was listening to it, I found his vocal style, whoever is the vocalist for this group, I didn't like it. I feel like he was going for like a gravelly Tom Waits voice, but he didn't really have the oomph to his voice. He's no Tommy the Cat. And I also found the instrumentation to be really simplistic. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with really simple, I don't know, instrumentation. I just felt like it was both simple and it wasn't particularly emotive. I don't think that it made the other elements of the songs more impactful, if that makes any sense. It just felt like a bunch of really simple, repetitive loops. And not even cool loops, because, you know, there's cool, simple loops that really add to the atmosphere, but those didn't, and so I just trekked onward and onward with that album, and no, mister, I did not enjoy anything about it. I thought that it was a joke, perhaps a joke recommendation, and, you know, my opinion doesn't really matter. Honestly, despite making that Ween tier maker, I don't really believe in ranking things. I believe that art can't really be looked at objectively, and so whenever I do anything akin to ranking, it's just about my subjective enjoyment. And honestly, how much I subjectively enjoy something even changes really, really rapidly. Like if I was to look at my own Ween tier list, I would absolutely don't even disagree with I meant to say, I don't even agree with it now. So it doesn't really matter what I think, but Brett, to summarize my thoughts on these albums that you made me listen to for some reason, I like Wise, but I already liked it. I did not like Common is Light, but I don't know, at least now I've listened to it and it's expanded my mind, or shrunk it. Maybe it's made it into a tiny little plastic shrink-a-dink that will decay away in a landfill somewhere, or not decay. That's the problem with plastic, isn't it?